What's going on, guys? Welcome back to an emergency edition of the Davey Sports Podcast. This is episode 170. Absolutely was not expecting to turn around and do another one right away, but, well, things happened, didn't they?
Yeah, very huge thing happened today, and we both felt like we have to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way we're just going to, say, oh, we'll talk about this next time. No. This was a bombshell. We got to talk about this.
Yeah, if you haven't been living under a rock, well, this is big time. This is a big time thing in San Diego sports. Sheel Seidler, widow of Peter, of course, has filed a lawsuit against his brothers.
So her brother-in-laws. Yeah, you're right.
Yes. Came out of nowhere. No one saw this coming.
No.
And just reading what's going on, it's not a good thing.
No, of course it's not.
And I think everyone is stunned. Both of us are definitely in disbelief right now on what's going on. And I think the number one thing that's going through my head right now is that I'm upset. I'm upset because for me, this was preventable if people weren't selfish or had an ego or put Peter's vision first, but clearly that wasn't the case. And it just sucks because now we know the truth and now we know what was going on behind closed doors.
Yeah, I mean, when they announced last month that John was going to be the control person, John Seidler, I was surprised. I was surprised it wasn't Sheel, and even more surprised that it wasn't at least Tom, because we knew Tom. Tom was like a public figure. We saw Tom around the team a lot. He was a very public figure. So I was like, okay. When I first saw Peter's brother, I thought it was Tom, and I was like, okay, this is great. Tom Seidler. We see him all the time. He's definitely gonna be like Peter. And then you find out it's John. You're like, wait, it's John? And who even is John? And then you have to do some searching for him. I was a little suspicious, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, it's Peter's brother. How bad can it be? He's probably gonna be fine. And now I'm just pissed off. I really am pissed off because it's I was wrong to give these guys the benefit of the doubt, and I was like, oh, well, they lost the TV deal. Peter died. They paid the luxury tax, didn't make the playoffs in 23. I gave these guys the benefit of the doubt. And then even this offseason, I was like, oh, well, still a lot of offseason to go. They're not going to go crazy like they did with Peter, but they'll make some moves. And here we are. They haven't signed a major league free agent. And it's January 6th. So should have known something was up with them. And I'll give it to you. All the people who are like, oh, screw this ownership. They're not honoring Peter. I was wrong. You guys were right. I'll admit it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just being angry, but just being disappointed that all of this transpired.
Yeah, how could you not be?
And it just sucks because we all thought after Peter's obviously unfortunate passing that the family or anyone related to Peter would take it upon their own to represent Peter the best way possible. But not everyone has complied.
No.
Unfortunately, so. And it now just makes sense why it's been much tougher and it's taking much longer for both of us and other people who thought she would be the one who would be the next one in charge, but no. Something happened, and this is what happened.
Now we know what.
So, if you want to know the parties involved, so obviously, I'm looking at a tweet right now for a thread. Obviously, the main plaintiff is Sheel herself, and the defendants who's being accused are Matthew Seidler and Robert Seidler, not John and Tom.
Yeah, because supposedly, what is it that Tom? Not Tom. Matt and Rob are supposedly in charge of the trustee or something like that.
Yes.
All right. So yeah, they supposedly. I don't know all this legal stuff and all this. Obviously, I'm not a lawyer, but it's supposedly like the primary beneficiary of the trustee is supposed to go to Sheel, and there's the handwritten thing. That's supposedly written by Peter that puts Sheel as number one to be the control person of the team. And that we saw today, and got people debating about whether or not that's good enough evidence. We'll talk about that in a second. And not in a second, but in a little bit we'll get to that. Bottom line is, they are not doing what they're supposed to be doing in charge of the trustee. That's what Sheel's been saying. And they're supposedly, sounds like, purposely like decreasing the value so they can like resell parts of the trust, including stakes in the team. I have that right, I believe, correct?
Sounds about right.
Based off the information that we've been getting, that this has been going on behind the scenes for quite some time. If you've read any of the things and some of the dates on here, like, and it makes sense too, because remember, you and I both thought that Sheel was going to take over the team after Kutsenda's year as the interim control person was up.
I mean, just everything that was. If you remember how the offseason began, like Sheel even made a tweet saying, "Talk to you guys later." Like that hinted, like that was a hint saying, "Oh, like will she be the next person in control?" And just remember, again, when the team was hot last year, she was at games, and you can't say the same thing about almost every other person in the Seidler family, that they were at games. Like she was by far the most prominent figure.
Yeah.
So that's what made everyone think, oh, it's gonna be her. But no, that's not what happened again. So it's unfortunate, and we just know that Sheel loves the team. Sheel cares, and Peter knew, like out of anyone, she would have been the best option.
Yeah, so that's why, and we'll get into this actually when it gets into the legal things, but you can't say like, oh, this person said this. It's like the only thing that matters, like if this goes to like, if this actually goes to a trial, is like hard evidence, like actual stuff, and we'll get into that. So any like, oh well, AC wrote that this person said that was close to Seidler. They claimed that he was never gonna make Sheel a control person. That doesn't even matter. Like
because this was all unexpected.
Yeah. Like,
but I just think again, number one thing, that if you want to be mad, it's the brothers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're terrible. They're awful. I mean, the whole thing of like, Shields writing that, oh, they're like not following through on what Peter said, with the articles about cutting payroll and not, going all out to win a championship like Peter would have when they were supposed to be doing this kind of thing, which is all true, honestly. Based on what we've seen. Which is true. They hide behind these statements of like, oh, we're trying to bring the first World Series to San Diego. We're
But your actions are proving otherwise.
Honoring Peter's legacy.
Their actions are proving otherwise, and it's pretty clear. I mean, if they were really serious about honoring Peter's legacy, then why aren't they spending a dime?
Yeah. Not only that, too, they do nothing at all, and they won't even go in front. They won't even publicly be out in public and explain, say what their goal is.
Or talk, yeah. They've been hiding ever since last year. So there wasn't even a statement after Peter passed saying we'll do this for him, yada yada yada, out of respect. Nothing. So I think that there we should have known back then. Okay, like you have to be wary of these guys, and Now everything is shown into light.
Yeah, I mean, and just the whole thing too. Clearly they're bigots too. I mean, the racism. Sheel's Indian. If you guys didn't know that,
Yes.
they're based on what they're talking about, like what they call her, like what would Matt Seidler say? Like none of us would ever work for your purple face. That's hilarious to think, or something like that. And then, supposedly the wife of Rob Seidler called her something racist in an email copying him, like, too. Oh my goodness. Like, it's ugly.
And guys, for people who think Sheel does not know what she's doing, or Sheel doesn't have a chance, or Sheel doesn't has no idea, she's not dumb, okay? She's not dumb. First of all, I don't think she wanted to do this. So this was last resort. Why would she want to do this in the first place?
Yeah.
And second of all, if she were to do this, she would believe she has all the evidence she needs to win, right? Like you wouldn't do this without any concrete evidence or anything to back you up. And plus, you're not supposed to show everything on social media. So yeah, sure, the will and her being number one, along with him and with her and Peter's children on that list are on the top. Sure, that's something, but there's more to it.
Yeah,
and I believe it.
So if you're one of these people who are like, oh, she can't win an illegal case just based off that, you're dumb.
And plus, I heard someone say on Twitter she's a lawyer.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true or not, but I mean,
or it's just I would trust that she has good people backing her up. So
yeah, no, there's no question she does. I mean,
so for people who are saying, "Oh, she has no chance," what's the point of this? No, there's a reason to it.
Yeah, and that's gonna get us into the next point. Like, even though I'm pissed off about how this transpired, is that I don't think all is lost at all. I think some of y'all got to chill, man.
I agree. There's been overreacting today.
No, on social media, yeah. No way.
Not gonna name names. Not gonna name who. Not gonna name what has been said. I'm not worried as much as other people are.
No, and you shouldn't be, because I'm not either. Even though I'm upset right now.
I'm just upset at what happened, and I just think that good will come out of this.
Well, I don't know if I necessarily say good, but I don't see any disastrous long-term outcomes.
That's what I mean. Is this. First of all, the things that are being said, oh, they're gonna sell, they're gonna move. Those are not gonna happen.
No, I mean,
especially moving.
Sell, I could see at some point, but
moving, no,
absolutely not.
And plus, some people are saying, "Oh, we're gonna go back to the Morat days." Again, that's never gonna happen. Ever again. Yeah, will the team have to stop spending for a while as it festers? Of course. But best case scenario is this doesn't take too long and Sheel gets control of the team. That's obviously what we want to happen. Because the shorter it is, we'll have a resolution. And we will have a direction of where to go. I just think this is short term. We just got to figure what's going on here.
Yeah, you're right. I think I'll get into that. Because first of all, I've seen some people say, "Oh, that's it. We're not getting Sasaki now." It's like, first of all, that became secondary today, because, yes, I think that if we do get him, we have the right pieces that you need to make a playoff run. So obviously, of course, you still do want him, but at the same time, who's going to be running the team long run is much more important. So, and I'll get in. So that kind of became secondary, but I don't think it ended the chances at him because let's face it, like Sheel did not wake up this morning with a 91 and write 91 pages of a lawsuit and file it this morning. No, that doesn't work that way.
No, this has been going on for a while.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before. Sasaki and Wolf have been doing their homework. Wolf, is very in tune with what's going on with the Padres because we've talked about this with him and Darvish. So he's very in tune with what's going on with the team. So so the fact is him and Roki probably know this is going on. And the fact that they haven't ruled out the Padres yet is probably a good sign that they're still in the mix for him, honestly. And the thing that's important to remember about this is that the things we talked about last night that we talked about might be advantages for us, those are still true regardless of what the situation is with the control person.
Yeah.
Like those still exist regardless of what's going on with the control person. So I wouldn't close the door on that yet.
I'm not either.
And I got to say this in the strongest way possible. They are not relocating. That is complete garbage to think that. Think about this. Can you name a market without a team that would be better for them than this one?
Find an alternate universe.
Yeah, find an alternate universe. I mean, and like they've been, putting money into the Petco Park. They're doing it again this winter. Like, you guys can't be that ridiculous. I mean, come on. I mean, let's look at markets that are technically bigger, like ranked higher than San Diego. I'm looking at this right now. Orlando, Florida can't even support the two teams it has right now. Sacramento, I mean, they're going to host the A's temporarily for a few years. I get it, but they're mostly Giant fans up there already. So, no. Sacramento's not a great market by any means. Portland, I mean, they don't even have a minor league park. And you got the Trailblazers and Oregon football and basketball up there. Charlotte, that's not that much bigger than San Diego, and they already have the Hornets and Panthers. And they're spending $600 million to renovate Bank of America Stadium. So Indianapolis, they're about the same size. They already got two teams. Nashville, they'll be in the mix for a team, but they're going to get expansion of the White Sox. So Hartford, please, that's New England territory. That's New England, Boston, Red Sox territory. Maybe split between the Red Sox and Yankees. Columbus, you already got two teams in Ohio. And everything else is much smaller. Like, come on. You have to understand the differences between situations like that. And I know someone's going to say, well, what about all the people who never thought the Chargers were going to leave? I mean, first of all, Qualcomm was falling apart. Thanks, Dean. And you had the second biggest media market open for 20 years. That's not the case here, guys.
And again, the team's been making more money. The team's been making more fans ever in its fastest rate ever compared to before. So,
yeah, there's nowhere they could go where they would be more successful than they are.
There's no reason to leave. And the one thing that disappoints me, again, just thinking about everything, is the reports on how much the team is worth now and how much they made last year. Going back to the situation. Like, they're now a middle of the pack team in regards to worth. They're worth around $2 billion. And last year they made around almost what? They were around $425 million a profit. So it shows you they're making money. So that's what makes it more disappointing what they're doing now.
Yeah, of course. And there's nowhere that does, like, again, there's no place that doesn't have a team where they could go and make more money than they are here.
And the thing that's disappointing about
baseball wouldn't even let that happen. They're already getting killed for the A's move, and the situation in Oakland was honestly kind of dire there. And remember, in baseball, 28 of the 30 teams, every team except for the A's and Nationals, has either been in the same market their entire existence or been in their current market for 50 plus years. In some cases, both.
So yeah, baseball doesn't want to move teams. That's basically it. So, and again, I just feel
baseball's not like football or even basketball where it can sometimes make sense to go to a market that isn't as big. Like baseball's not like that.
No, so I mean, we already established market. We already have an established fan base and established history. So there's no point in moving. And again, I just feel like I've been betrayed at this ownership. Now we know the numbers. Now we know what they've been making, and it's again zero excuse what they've done, and we've been wrong. And that's what makes it very disappointing on what has transpired.
But getting back to what we were saying is that in the long run, I think it'll work out okay. Because like I saw somebody else say, "Well, there's no way they keep Merrill now." Merrill's not a free agent for 5 years. Like we talked about what the situation's going to look like in 5 years on the last episode, and I mean this will be solved way before 5 years.
Yeah. And there's still some positives that can happen out of this. Like, yeah, it sucks short term, but obviously the number one thing we want to happen here is, and based off evidence we've seen so far, is we think Sheel has a real chance to win this thing, based on evidence we've seen. Because again, her accusations on the brothers are pretty strong.
Yeah, and I know people are saying like, "Oh, she has no legal basis." Like that's a handwritten note. It's like on like looks like it was scribbled. Like that's not how it works. Like, and the AC article where said like people close to Seidler said he wouldn't have Sheel running the team. It's like that doesn't matter. What matters is what's on paper. What's on paper, supposedly written by him, is that she was number one on the list of people to take over. And all they have to do is like find something else that he wrote and match it up. And that's then it's evidence that he wrote it. Like,
and again, you don't show your full cards to the public. So there's more. There's more, and again, just the accusations that she threw were strong, like racist accusations in there as well.
Yeah,
that's something you don't take lightly, and something you just don't throw out there without any baseless claims.
So I'd also like to say too regarding this is that from Rand Platty on Twitter, what he was saying is that he thinks that she has a very strong case because this is the tweet. 1, this sidesteps the issue of whether Peter wants Sheel's control person. He didn't want her as trustee, sure. 2, it never mentions that the trust's sole beneficiary is Sheel. It doesn't matter who is trustee if the trustee is supposed to do everything for her benefit. Basically, he's saying this in quote tweeting the statement by the Seidler Trust. So he's saying that, look, she is the sole beneficiary, so it's supposed to do everything for her benefit. And if that looks like, so she has a really strong case. He also said, another one of his tweets, according to Sheel, Peter's stake in the Padres possess exclusive rights as to the control of the franchise. She doesn't need a majority of owners to vote her in or anything like that. She just needs control of Seidler Trust. We just talked about that. It's the context from the more tweets from him. He did a really good job on this. Context from the lawsuit for the statement. The brothers seem to all basically work for Peter. He got them all jobs, ownership stakes, etc. So since Peter gave Sheel everything, the brothers basically are supposed to work for her, but they're not. something else he said. He said, this guy's a pretty smart guy. If you guys haven't followed him over the years, like I have, by the way, so I believe what he says. So what he said to somebody, well, it got to this point, according to Sheel, because the brothers are intentionally and covertly going against Peter's will. He told somebody else who's like somebody told him the trust states that the trustees will pick the chairperson. The trust says she can never be a trustee, so she has no say. That's why. And he replied, well, the trust actually says every decision must be made for her and only her benefit. And I asked him directly, like, why he thought she ought to solve a case. And I asked him because this statement makes them out to be clear liars. And he said, yeah, they're sidestepping / not addressing the main accusations. And somebody else said we were screwed. And he said 2020 has nothing to do with now. That was before Peter died. Of course, she doesn't want to be control person while Peter is still around. So basically, it's like they violated the trust. Like it's supposed to be her. So like she has a great case. I bet you if it goes to that gets to that point, she wins. I would say so.
I agree too.
So that's one of the long-term outcomes possible is that she takes control, whether that's by court or like there's a settlement because like all this overwhelming negative evidence, even more comes against the brothers, which is certainly possible as well. There's also a possibility, this is the second thing, that this one would settle it a lot quicker, is that I don't think a lot of people even realize this, is that John Seidler still has not technically been approved as control person yet. They haven't voted on that.
No, not yet.
And
you need 75% yes vote, so you need more than 20. You need 23 is the target number. So
yes,
if you get 8 no's, he's not going to be voted in.
Yeah,
and that's pretty tough actually to get all the yeses you need. Like with this going on, like there's definitely owners that Peter had good relationships with, or people that respected what Seidler was doing.
Yeah, directly from
to compete. So having like a good amount of those people backing up Sheel, those will be people who will say no to letting John Seidler be the main guy.
Yes, and this is directly from the Alden Gonzalez ESPN article. John Seidler's appointment as control person is still pending the approval of 3/4 of MLB's owners. A vote hasn't been scheduled, but could occur as early as the upcoming owners meetings in February. And it's only January 6th right now while we're recording this. So there's a lot. I'm sure there's more that's going to come out before then. And, you know, if more, even what's just come out right now, it probably doesn't stand. It probably doesn't bode well for John's chances to be voted in by, to be approved by the other owners. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. Number 3, MLB might just get rid of the brothers, all of them, just because of the racist comments. I mean, the NBA did it to Donald Sterling in 2014. Like, MLB can certainly get rid of these guys in 2025.
No question, with how society
statements that were
with
made,
how different society is nowadays.
Yeah,
it just takes one bad comment to put yourself on a bad spot.
Yeah, if they could get rid of Sterling back in 2014, the NBA, then baseball definitely could for these brothers for these comments now. And, you know, also this isn't a racism thing, but inclusion thing or whatever. But for also you gotta remember too, if there's guys who are just, you know, embarrassing the league so much, they can nudge and do passive aggressive things to get rid of a guy. Like the NFL finally did that with Dan Snyder a few years ago. So they want to get rid of somebody for, you know, embarrassing the league and giving the league a bad look by doing so like that. They definitely can.
Yep.
And the 4th scenario, this is probably the one that is the least positive, because you don't know who ends up with the team, but let's say the brothers somehow prevail and they eventually sell the team. Like, you don't know who's buying the team, but the only way that can turn out to be bad in the long term is if it's sold to someone who's like a Dan Snyder 2.0. Like, other than that happening, which is just one of the possible sub outcomes of the fourth and probably least likely outcome. Like, other than that, there isn't really a bad outcome long term. So I did want to say that, but it does suck in the short term, and it does make me angry that like we've been lied to, basically, is what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, we've been lied. So basically, we're gonna wrap this up right here because this was just an emergency episode talking about this only. Like, yeah, like it sucks we've been lied to in the short term, and like they could make, you know, some modest moves now and like still be making plenty of money and, you know, be in really good position to win a World Series. And they're not doing it, and it turns out they've been lying to us this whole time, and you know, they're trying to take away from what Peter did, but bottom line is it'll work itself out in the long run. That's what we wanted to come on here and say tonight, basically.
Yeah, so I think we just want to say all hope is not lost. Like, yeah, it sucks in the short term, but I feel like things will work out in the long term. That's what I meant with it. That's what I meant earlier.
Yeah, and that's basically the reason we came on here tonight. We basically wanted to say yeah, we feel your anger. We're angry too, but don't panic is what we're trying to say.
Yeah.
All right, you got anything else, Matty, or are we gonna wrap this up right here?
Let's keep it short and simple because again, there's still a lot that we do not know.
Yeah,
we're just giving our initial thoughts on the situation. It's new, and hopefully, this isn't as bad as some people think it will be.
All right.
So just keep an eye on everything. Hopefully, things work out okay.
Yeah, they long term they should be okay, but hopefully one of the short term hopefully one of the first two outcomes we talked about happens so that it's resolved in the shorter term. All right, thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, I can't believe we're back already. That was fast.
Yeah, I know.